Woke up late, charts on fire, red and green like a funeral pyre. Discord screaming LFG, but my portfolio's haunting me. Spiked my coffee with regret. Last night I longed to break out bet. Now I'm broke, not broken yet. Just one more pump, I won't forget. Buy high, die huddling. The 10 brain dopamine's controlling. Ride the whale or get wrecked clean. This crypto dream's a guillotine. Fake guru with 1,000 subs showed me coins in shady clubs. Promised moons, Lambos and jets. Now I'm left with JPEGs and debts. Scalped my soul in a 5-minute chart. Market dumped and it ripped my heart. But I'll reload, I'll play to win. Even if I lose it all again. Buy high, die huddling. Gas fees burn, but I keep rolling. Almost God, greed's the king. This crypto dream's a punk rock thing. In the glass, risk it all, no brakes, full gas. Liquidation, call me sweet. Whisper, welcome to defeat. No stop loss, no regrets. Code and chaos, no safety nets. Satoshi's ghost in my DMs told me to aim again and again. Buy high, die huddling. Gas fees burn, but I keep rolling. If I crash, at least I tried. In this wild west of blockchain rights. I'll be trading till the lights go out. Charts are noise, but I live for the sound. One candle spike, and I'm back in town. Crypto's a fight, and I'm 10 toes down. Diamond hands with the crack in the glass. Risk it all, no brakes, full gas. But I'll reload, I play to win. Even if I lose it all again.
What's up, guys? Hope you have an awesome day. Pretty wild drop we had. We lost daily momentum, so we could either see a continuation or we could range from here. I've got a feeling that we are likely going to test previous highs and see us range bound between 112K and the new all-time high. Just let me know if there's any problems with the audio, guys. I switched back to OBS because there's like a lot more creative freedom with how I might do my lives. I won't be able to do the cool, fancy little pop-ups of your like your comments anymore, but yeah, but I can make the lives a lot more fun. But yeah, let's dive into the charts. Let me see. Let's get back into OBS and see how this thing works again. It's been a while. I just gotta make sure that you guys can see the screen properly, all that stuff. Here we go. Yeah, it looks like you can see it pretty good. I'm gonna make myself a little smaller. Here we go. There we go. That's good. Okay. We got Coma in the house. How you doing, Coma? Brett. Pluff. Good evening, man. Chad. Sterling. How you doing, Sterling? Melissa. Dennis. Good day. Strong thumbnail. Oh, thanks, man. That's actually an old thumbnail I made a while ago, but I was like, hey, it's a good time to reuse it. The market is just plummeting. Noah, how you doing, bro? Coma riding the inverse head and shoulders. Oh, yeah. We saw that break after the retest of the 50-day EMA and got above the VWAP. So good job on that trade. I didn't signal it because I didn't like the stop loss requirement for it. So basically what I did instead was give suggestive pathing in my post here that we at the time it was a descending double bottom, like we had this kind of posture right here, right? Descending double bottom when I was writing my post there, and then I was suggesting that we could hit a previous low that starts at 116.7, and that's where we are right now. So now that we're all caught up from my last post, so from here, I'll just recommend just be cautious around this previous low, because sometimes we don't always hit those supply concerns where you prepare for the confluence required for a potential short. This in itself is actually a form of confluence that some traders look for when exiting their trades, just like when we're in an uptrend, right? Where we could come up and like test previous highs, right? It's the opposite for downtrends. Sometimes we'll test these previous lows and then continue down. You prefer the intro so I don't have to sit and spam refresh. Yeah, me too. I prefer the intro so it gives me some time to get everything set up for you guys. Okay. Audio is fine. Oh, cool. Do we go to 112K first before the all-time high? Well, I can't pretend I can see the future, but I can give you analysis on if A happens, we can prepare for A. If B happens, we can prepare for B. We're at a critical point right now, actually, where if we lose this demand zone, which we just dipped into over here, it's one of our key levels, and if we lose this low, we're going to break a previous point of control right over here. And then if we get that break of structure continuation, we'd also lose not just that point of control, but we lose the 50-day EMA. And it'd be fairly easy for us to come down to 112K from there. And if we zoom out a little bit on the daily, we can anticipate us just forming a range from above this previous high here and into this, into the 112K demand zone, and maybe see us consolidate until we hit the more broad macro momentum here that's been holding it up since the bear market low. Like if we zoom way out on the daily, this has been holding us up since 115K. No, not 115K, just 15K. Just 15K. It's just, I'm so used to saying 100 in front of everything now. But yeah, this has been holding us up for a while. And if we lose that level, this macro momentum, then that's kind of like, we might see some wild price action there. But in order for us to even reach that broad momentum, it would suggest a range for over another 60 to 70 days. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but that's been the kind of the Bitcoin song lately, right? Every time we reach these all-time highs, we tend to tap this macro broad momentum and consolidate until we hit it. So whenever we have this crazy amount of negative space, we've had us go range bound until we hit it. And so we've been having wildly long-term ranges. Like this one was 240 days. We had this falling wedge that met it again, and that lasted 150 days. And then we started kind of picking up the pace and had some evolving momentum here. And that's what we just lost last night around 8 p.m. Eastern, was the evolving momentum. Let me undo that. This evolving momentum right here, that's been holding us up since 76K. And we were talking about this low for a while now. And I was kind of hoping that we could get a decent long on this, because we caught a really good SFP on the hourly right here, right? You got this really decent SFP that bounced off this previous value area high, and in confluence with that was at a previous value area low from this range bound price action here. But we closed our trade. Well, I closed 50% of my trade here, and the remaining amount of the position ended up getting stopped out. So overall profitable trade, but I was in kind of a hopium phase that this momentum would hold, and we'd see a potential. We saw some potential fractalization of this double ascending double bottom. And I was hoping that this would just perform as a neckline to this supply zone here to honor this uptrending momentum, get that bounce, and then get a continuation up to mitigate some of the supply, and then start coming back down again, right? But instead, we lost the momentum, right, and fell down to the 50-day EMA, and we're just coming up to retest that same SFP that we took is now acting as resistance. So what we can prepare for from here is we don't have a too big of a confirmation just yet that we're going to be coming down. If we get that maybe like a higher high SFP off here, or fail to create the higher high and get like that potential break of the low, like double top structure, and then I would start preparing for us to come right back down. So we're going to get our answer very soon about whether or not we're going to get our continuation. So I can draw like momentum based on the current structure on the 15-minute time frame, using this break structure as our primary identifier of momentum, and we could potentially prepare for it to come back up and come right back down to our key level here. So we're about to find out if whether or not we're going to fall right back down or continue up to our next supply concern, which starts pretty much at this value area low. I could actually encase this a little bit better actually, because we have this, this break of structure, like impulse move down. We created supply concern. I got this wrapped from here, but I feel like we should be moving this box a little bit lower, just so we can encase the confluence of that previous value area low. We have the 15-minute order block. We have supply concern here and supply concern there. So lots of reasoning for us to get rejected here, as well as like that momentum that we were using as support since 76K could be honored as a form of resistance if we were to get that continuation up. But this is our first little area of concern that we're like tapping our head off now. We could come down, bounce off this little demand zone, and find out if we're going to get that continuation or get that break. But that is pretty much it for Bitcoin. I'm kind of hopeful that we hold this, but I wouldn't mind us ranging honestly between 112K and the all-time high. This would be a pretty good, decent range for us to trade. We have about from the low of 112 to the high, it's about 11% range. So we can get some decent trades here. If we were to, it would be pretty incredible if we did range for like another 60 days in this area. But there's a lot of on-chain evidence of exhaustion right now, especially for Ethereum, for any Ethereum holders. We just had like one of the biggest staking unlocks in its entire history just occur. So it's inevitable that people are going to be selling. If the unlock timing couldn't have been better for people who had their funds staking, like being near an all-time high like that for Ethereum. Let's go back here. Let's pull up the Ethereum chart. But yeah, we were so remarkably close to the all-time high. We're like $100 shy. We probably hit the all-time high in some exchanges. On this chart, however, we did not. We were about like less than 2% away from hitting that all-time high. But the staking unlock just happened to happen like near this area. So it's such a good time for those who been holding for such a long time to be able to just offload in profits like that. Is this Bitcoin's top? It is not Bitcoin's top, in my opinion. Based on on-chain data, we're just cooling down. And like, I'm sorry about the clickbait title like that, but basically, I just want to let you guys know, this is definitely not the top, in my opinion. Like based on on-chain data, like we'd want to prepare for like the 2.35 level, where the exhaustion really starts to kick in. Right now, we are seeing the REPL chart. Let me just fix this a little bit so you guys can see it better. There we go. That's one thing I get used to with OBS is your ability to see my screen. I got to find a way to fit it really well, or else some charts won't be revealed properly. But here, we had this new key level on our RPL charts, which shows us the amount of people who are in a profit, right? Like the more people are in a profit, the more stressed out this chart gets, And the more people are holding at a loss, the more it reveals an opportunity for us to buy. And we're kind of caught between the middle right now. So it's telling us that, like, relative to this chart, we're only halfway to our all-time high target. And that all-time high target, what this allows you to do is it shows you that it's not really fixed, right? It all depends on the conditioning of what's going on around the world. Like the global liquidity is really, really high right now, so we have lots of reasoning for the market to continue going up. And the retail especially has been offloading their funds, but institutions have been buying it all up and creating stability in the market. So when retail starts to come back, that's when we can anticipate for us to probably get into the overheated zone again. But yeah, right now we're hitting our head off the 1.42 level on the RPL chart, kind of forming this kind of double top structure, and it could induce a move back down to the 0.76 level. This is a free chart that you guys all have access to on chainexposed.com if you want to check it out. They have a lot of really incredible tools to help you understand the macro vision of things. It's a little bit of a learning curve, but once you got it down, it honestly, it will make you an incredible investor for understanding when the tops are coming in. This thing is called the top perfectly every single cycle. But yeah, based on this chart, if we had a God candle that goes straight up, I'm anticipating that our current all-time high is gonna be around $250,000. And the more we consolidate, the higher that could become. So I'm kind of excited to see what the top is actually going to be. Because once we get up here, all we got to wait for is that daily change of character. And then all of our rules would have been met. The supply right now, in terms of its profitability, see how much is in a profit or loss right now. Wait for this to load. There we go. From our last report, which was at the price tag of 117K, we are in the profit of, about 94% of the supply was in a profit, and about 5.2% was at a loss. And that's based on 117K, and we're currently at around 116K. So we can trust that it's pretty close to that data is pretty accurate for where we're currently at. We're only off by about $1,000 from the last report. That chart unfortunately lags by about sometimes between 24 hours and 72 hours. Justin thinks it's going to be 145K. It's possible, but I'm going to be going off the on-chain data. Okay. By the way, thanks for the market. That yellow-green line, bro. Solid slap. Oh, yeah. That color. I'm not sure what color that is. It's like a vomit green. Yeah. No problem. Downtrending line on the 15 just got the third connection point. Yes. Yeah, you're right. We had that third tap in the last 15-minute candle. This next candle right now is kind of slipped below it. We just tapped into a 30-minute order block, giving us some reason to come back up. We have a 15-minute order block right here. So if we come up, we mitigate that order block. We could SFP here. That might be a decent trade, taking the SFP, depending on how it closes. And we could use the wick of that SFP as a stop loss guard, and then we just be targeting these previous highs. And hopefully the R&R is worth the trade. You could also just target the VWAP, which is right now correlated with those previous highs for that quick little scalp kind of move. Yeah, there we go. Bull Runner saying, if you have not hit the like button, please do. Kyle has just gave you alpha. That's worth way more than a like button. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. But yeah, so one thing I started to keep my eye out on is the crypto treasury tracker that's found on Centaura, which used to be intotheblock.com. So if anyone is kind of thrown off by this, like I am, I'm not really liking the changes that Into the Block did. With the rebranding is cool and all, but the charts aren't as valuable as they used to be, or I just can't find the charts that I used to use. So, but they have some cool ones that I haven't found before. Now we can discover like how much percentage of the supply the crypto treasury holds. So they apparently own 9.04% of the Bitcoin supply. They own 3.08% of the Ethereum supply and 0.74% of the Solana supply, which I thought was pretty interesting. I already knew about the Ethereum, but the Bitcoin and Solana is kind of a new data for me. So now we can track what these treasuries are holding. We got Strategy incorporated here. We got United States added to this list, China, Block.one, Tether Holdings, which is an important one to watch. Tether Holdings is a very important one to watch if you want to understand the stability of the USDT. But yeah, I'm going to learn more about what Centaura has to offer now. It's not free, but they do offer quite a bit of stuff for free. It's one of the cheaper side of the fences when you're looking for like on-chain tools. But nothing's cheaper than Chain Exposed right now. Like it's 100% free to use. It's just the only downside is there's latency to the data. And the fortunate part about on-chain data is that it doesn't really matter so long as it's not like giving you the data like 2 weeks late. Like a day or two is not a big deal when it comes to the macro vision, right? But yeah, and then we got, I also found on Centaura a really cool way to track the Ethereum ecosystem and the development. I've noticed that on here, let's see, where was it? Chainlink had a huge bump up and Mana had a huge bump up in their development since February. So we might see some more attention being drawn towards Chainlink. Makes a lot of sense now that Chainlink is actually like getting a lot of partnership deals with banks, allowing them to create their own networks. So you start seeing that bump up is really encouraging for anyone who's a holder of Chainlink. Anyone who's a holder of Mana, I didn't even realize that the Mana was even, it turned kind of like into a ghost town, honestly. In terms of price action, it hasn't really been doing much, but it's nice to see it kind of bump up a little bit more too. But other than that, those are the two major ones that I've noticed had a huge increase in their development. And that what brings a lot more attention and utility to the asset. Are you using TradingView? Yes, I'm using TradingView. I don't think there's a better chart system out there, especially for new traders. There are some out there that are a little more advanced that are really neat. There's a free one that I would recommend if you're someone who's on a budget, doesn't know if you're going to be trading or not. I would recommend checking out CoinGlass's new Legend system. They have a pretty incredible new tool out there. And after I show you guys this, to answer that question, we're going to go through some of your TA requests and find out what your favorite assets are doing. So here on the top left, you'll see it'll say a big and bold little icon here saying new. You click on Legend, and it's a lot like TradingView in a way. It allows you to see a lot more of the the data, like a data overlay. You're able to see like the order books, liquidity, all that stuff kind of blended in with your candles. So you get a lot more real-time action on this stuff. You could always just use the separate tools individually. I know a lot of people prefer to read like the heat map individually and then just add the data onto their TradingView. That's something that I prefer to do. It's kind of a habit. Same thing with sell walls. I'll put a giant like horizontal line on my charts, like this, for example, to represent like a sell wall, and I'll put like a little text notating like how big that sell wall is. But yeah, I'd recommend CoinGlass Legend too for anyone who's looking for a free alternative. But it does take a lot more CPU power, I've noticed, because it's kind of like broadcasting more data onto your computer, so it might slow down your system a little bit. But yeah, what do you guys want to look at? That on-chain info explanation was great. Thanks, man. Yeah, there's a lot of little cool little tools on chain that help you be more confident in knowing when to buy and when to sell. Because like, if that's the only thing you learn from this live today, is just like, just about this tool here, the RPL chart, right here. I promise you, your like macro trading journey will be a lot less emotional, honestly. Just waiting for it to get in the green zone, buy, wait till it gets to the red zone, sell. If you learn market structure, you can get much better lows and much better highs with this when you look for that daily change of character. When you have that daily change of character, it is basically the top is in, and you should just, that's what I'm waiting for. I'll be screaming through tops when all those conditions are met, because all the other conditions that I normally look for on chain have already been met. It's just this is the last one. What's the floor with Bitcoin? Like the absolute floor? For me personally, the range floor, in my opinion, is going to be 112K. And I'm anticipating for us to be range bound here for probably over a month. However, like I am treating this broad momentum as the current floor, the pace of the buyers, like the macro buyers. Now we do have what's called a legacy support level that this is not legacy support. I would have to pull a whole separate chart open for that. Let me pull that up right now. Gold. One of my favorite charts that I've got made here is the 5-day chart. I call it the golden accumulation zone chart. I only pull this chart open like once in a blue moon. But yeah, this doesn't have my legacy support level drawn, but I could just redraw it. Basically, we have a support level drawn from here to here. It's not perfect, not gonna refine it perfectly for you, but right now, relative to the current price action, it's like around 42K is the legacy support. And I think by the time the top is in, our bear market low is gonna be around 70K. So I'm expecting the bull market top to be around like 250K right now based on chain data. And I could be wrong. By the time all the on-chain rules are met, it might be a lower price. It might be a higher price. But it's all just based on when all the rules are met, right? And then when all those rules are met, I'm anticipating for me to be able to rebuy around 70K, basically. And that's when I'm thinking that this chart will be in the opportunity zone down here when a majority of people are holding at a loss. But I hope that helps you with your the question that you've got there. And now we're starting to come up. What I'm going to do while I'm doing an analysis for you guys with the altcoins, I'm just going to set a alarm for here. I'm going to get my magnet tool out, set an alarm right here, so I get notified when price action taps it. So there we go. So we don't miss out on anything if it happens during our live. This thing does not want to populate the alert. That's okay. I'll come back to it. Get one more shot. One more shot. Yeah, it's not working. I'm not sure what's going on. Okay, let's get through this list. So Polkadot request from Pluff. Okay, let's take a look at Polkadot, and then we'll start going down the list here. So Dot, see what you're up to, man. I do want to let you guys know that I just recently sold my cubic seed investment. I'm up like over 50% on that, on my long-term portfolio on that. So I just sold what I invested into it. So now I'm 100% risk-free on my cubic. Okay. All right, so we are looking a little bearish right now for DOT, but we're at a value area low. There's lots of opportunity here. I'm just going to update this fixed range volume profile pole, which is in line with this. There we go. There we go. All right. Here's one thing I'm a little bit nervous about. So we tapped our supply zone box that we have drawn here, right? Just almost perfectly. And then we had this bearish divergence form during that moment, lost the point of control, and hit this regression trend target, and then fell right down to our previous level that we kind of have this double bottom drawn here. We anticipate this to act as support. And it did a little bit, but honestly, not enough. There's not anything there for a potential trade unless you took something in the lower time frames, like this, kind of like this regression trend target here. When we have this break, retest, break a structure, you just be targeting this high where the liquidity is resting. And then it just fell right back down. So that's all we kind of got out of that preparation here. So I'm going to delete that. But now we're kind of building this massive head and shoulders kind of posture here. All right. And we're using a previous macro, well, not previous, a macro valley area low right now as a form of support. I'm hopeful that DOT holds this, but DOT has a lot of Bitcoin pairing liquidity. So whatever happens to Bitcoin tends to happen to DOT as well. Just gonna get rid of that watch list for you guys so you can see a little better. We have this uptrending momentum that's kind of been holding it up. It's like a higher time frame momentum. It's been holding up for since we were down at $3.43 for about, let's see, 15 days. And then we lost it. We have it act as resistance right now. And we're kind of getting that ascending double bottom kind of vibe right now. Let's see. This is our neckline. We already had the 15-minute change of character reaction. All right, so we flipped bullish on the 15. How are we doing on the hourly? Yeah, we flipped bullish on the hourly simultaneously. So we had a multi-time frame change of character on the same exact key level. So really it's all about Bitcoin right now for DOT. So if Bitcoin's able to break through this level of resistance and start coming up towards our supply concern, we could find out where DOT is relative to that supply concern if Bitcoin does make it through there. But if Bitcoin fails with like an SFP that we're preparing for, or a double top, or let's say a bearish change of character, then DOT's likely going to fall down with it and likely just come down and grab this liquidity, and then we'll find out if we'll lose this support level from there. Right? So like one little step at a time. But if, yeah, I wouldn't personally, depending on what the structure looks like at the time, I'm not going to, like based on the current structure, I'm not going to find an opportunity to take the short down to here. We might get an internal SFP, but I don't like touching internal SFPs. That would be like us sweeping this high here and getting an SFP here rather than something like up here, right? Or here, better explanation there. But yeah, all this is kind of like an internal move. So if, yeah, we could get that breakdown to here. I won't be taking the short here or recommending a short here. But if we see this act as a form of resistance, and we could fall down to our next demand zone around 366. We're kind of like using this one right now as a form of support. And at that point, it could be a good accumulation level for people to prepare to buy again. But yeah, DOT's just like, it feels like it's getting squeezed, like more and more and more. keeps failing to create these higher highs. But it's in such a good position macro for accumulation. It's insane. Like you could buy here and hold to the value area high and basically 2x your portfolio. But there are safer investments right now. So I'm hopeful for anyone who's holding DOT that this does not confirm and that we just consolidate into like a descending triangle or something and then get that break and mitigate the supply. And if we were to get that, I want to see what the apex point would be at. So we had this to here. Would that correlate with Bitcoin's range? No, not even close. Okay. All right. Sorry, I just had like a miniature theory in my head, but it didn't really pan out. But that's DOT, man. Yeah, sorry there isn't really much TA other than that, but just be cautious of this level. You don't want to see 382 act as resistance. It might be a good time to sell and then rebuy so you can get more DOT for free, basically. And if I'll do that with you. If I see a reason to sell my DOT because I'm holding some myself, I'll let you know if I sell, and then I'll do a rebuy signal, and then we can get ourselves some about maybe 5% more DOT for free there. Okay, quantum reality. Is there a probability that we will see a lower price of alts than July lows? It depends on whether or not alts have some relative strength or not. We'll have to look at Bitcoin dominance together to give you that answer. And the others dominance, USD dominance, and Bitcoin dominance could help you with that answer. It does kind of seem like funds might be potentially shifting over to USD dominance soon. When we last looked at it, if you go into the daily, we're kind of getting this downtrending momentum on the USD dominance, suggesting that we are going to see a rotation of funds coming into USDT. And, just the same way that I normally have my strategy where I prepare for my longs, which is like a break of momentum at a value area low, and then a change of character reaction, then start targeting the value area high and sometimes the extreme highs within that range. We're almost meeting all those rules here. So if we're thinking about entering a long position here, if this was like a regular asset, we're pretty close to meeting all those rules. And like based on the momentum and then where the current price is, it could take us about 23 days or so for us to get there entirely. So we might see a bleed for about 20 days or so of like funds basically flowing into USDT from Bitcoin and from alts. Go back to Bitcoin's chart, because I can't seem to get that alarm to work for some reason. I don't want to miss out on finding out whether or not we're going to get that continuation or the sweep here. You have to contact market cap, or they just list Karma automatically. They do list assets now automatically for their DEX part, but now when it comes to everything else, it's always been manual. So there's like a 50 question application that you fill out, and then you make a tweet to signal them to check out your application, which is basically a really good way for them to market themselves. And then you have to wait 30 to 60 days, sometimes 90 days to get listed after that. But no, it's not an automatic process. If it was, oh boy, would that be nice, but no, it's not. I could show you the application form and it would make your jaw drop, but all right, so the next request was to look at Ethereum. We did take a little peek at that, but we can look at it again. So Ethereum right now is in our little demand zone that we got drawn. off this previous value area high. Now we're kind of see that Ethereum has a little bit of relative weakness against Bitcoin, but that's just mainly because around this time we had Ethereum basically have this massive unlock from staking, so people inevitably took profits, and the timing being so close to the all-time high. So we're building this like this descending channel from here to here. So this is like the pace of the buyers and the pace of the sellers. You know, our goal is to try to get our long positions are roughly around this downtrending momentum. The downside with longing these, like you should be focusing on shorts, is because if you were to visualize your stop, like the stop loss orders, your stop loss guard, they're over time they become less and less protected, right? Like relative to where the price action is, it becomes less and less protected. So if you say, for example, you enter long here, as time progresses, it becomes less and less protected from the momentum of buyers. But when you're shorting, the order books, you know, they chase these trend lines, right? The sell orders chase these trend lines. So you think of it like a little guardian for your capital as time progresses until eventually we break. So you should be focusing mostly on shorts right now for Ethereum while we're in this descending channel. But once we break this, then we'll be starting to grab the liquidity from these highs again. And I'm thinking that when we do break this, there's a decent chance that we actually might get an all-time high before we come back down again. Because we have the liquidity resting above this from here. This is the key level that we have drawn last time. We can actually update that. So we had the supply concern here, but now we can update it because most of it's been mitigated, but it's actually, ironically, it's the same spot that we have to watch now coming up. We have this little supply concern here that's currently being mitigated. We're kind of building this bear flag posture. Right? There are two targets for a bear flag. There's the conservative target, which is basically based on the active local momentum. I mean, the active local liquidity, sorry. So if we break this to the downside and we get that bearish change of character, then we'll be targeting this low, right? And then there's the momentum-based target, where you grab it from the last area of consolidation, you pull it to the support, you click and drag, and then once you have the break, you look for the most recent retest, which right now is here. You get your measurable-based target. So right now, if we did get that break and we got that change of character, let's say we tested around here, it's suggesting that we can actually break this downtrending momentum and come down to as low as like a 4,075, which right now is in confluence with the previous point of control and this previous, this little demand zone right here. We'll see what happens, but you always want to focus on the conservative targets first with any trading strategy. Always focus on your conservative targets first and manage your risk based on your conservative target, and then see how we react around that area. And if the reaction is a continuation, then you can just stay in your trade. If you see like an opposing change of character, then you should listen to the market and just take profit, right? I got to take my own advice when I say that for my last trade. I should have listened to the market, just took profit, not just close 50%, but close the full amount. And that way you can scale your account a lot faster. I'm going to leave this here for now. So when we return to it, we'll see if we hit that target. But yeah, overall, this is our conservative targets right here that we need to break first. I'm just going to mark this as local support. And we zoom in. Yeah, right now we could get that SFP too, which would work well in confluence with what currently is going on with Bitcoin. You know, Bitcoin and Ethereum like to move together sometimes, especially since Ethereum is one of the ones that have one of the most pairing liquidity with, it has the most pairing liquidity with Bitcoin out there. So that's why when Bitcoin makes its move, everything else tends to make its move. There we go. So it's prepare for that sweep. If anyone who's not familiar with what an SFP is, basically it's when price action comes up, grabs liquidity from our previous high. It's an invalidation to a break of structure. So you need to have that proper 2 candle pullback, come up, sweep that high, and then close below the same wick, right? So the body needs to close below here. And even better, if you want to focus on higher probability SFPs that are more likely to hit their measurable target, if the sweep occurs and then closes back inside the body range. So we have this, the body's right here. If we sweep up here and then close below here, then the probability of us hitting the measurable target, which is the same low that would normally induce a change of character, that's where, yeah, you're just looking for a quick in and out kind of setup. But that is Ethereum. I hope that helps you out. And that SFP could be a really good front run to the bear flag break. Because personally, like trading the bear flag, you need to wait for that change of character. And right now it's way down here. So hopefully you get that SFP so you can front run that. But you're going to have to watch that as your primary barrier for your setup. And if we don't get that break, then you might have to exit your trade early. Okay, Maria, I have a long-term position for Bitcoin liquidation price. Do you think it'll drop that low? So your I don't like it when people talk about liquidation prices because it means they're not trading with a stop loss. But if you are, one positive thing about your current position and your liquidation price is that you are going to be guarded by the 200-day EMA very soon. If we zoom out, we look at the 200-day, it's right here. Right now it's at roughly around 103K, but it will, if we do drop, it's going to take a lot of time for us to get there. We don't have a healthy pullback just yet to define the momentum, like the pace of the sellers. And we have lots of guardians to your capital right now. So eventually it's going to be your 200-day. You'll have the value area high. You have this demand zone here. You have this low where there's liquidity resting here. So you have lots of guardians for your capital. So I think you're in a good spot. I'm hoping that you're able to move your stop loss to break even soon, depending on where your entry point is. You said your liquidation's at around 104K. So it sounds like you, depending on if you enter around this range, you're likely using around 5x leverage. Yeah, I highly recommend getting into, if you haven't taken the course already. I think, Maria, I see your name in the community. I recommend taking the course as much as you possibly can, so you'll know how to manage your risk using a stop loss guard instead of a liquidation guard. But everyone has their own little strategies. I don't want to knock it. I just don't want anyone getting hurt. Okay. So we're coming up now. Ethereum, get close to. Yeah, I want to keep a close eye on Ethereum and Bitcoin. Or can we look at render? Is that our next request? Render, okay. Let's see. I think it's been a while since we looked at render. RNDR. August 7th. Okay, not too long. Oh, you guys get to watch to see how slow it loads with me. All right, so I thought we had this charted already. This isn't the full price action. Oh, it's like here. I might have done it on. There we go. That's better. Okay. So render, we got a lot more history now. You always want to look for that dinosaur, right? So if you want a better chance of having the full price action of the asset. So render, we lost this macro uptrending momentum back in like July. We've been consolidating against this previous high here, right? Using it as support. Looks like the last time we were looking at a short from the loss of this uptrending momentum. We can zoom in on that just to get you a better idea. So yeah, it's definitely been a while since we've done like a solid TA on it. But yeah, we had this head and shoulders posture, loss of momentum at a valley area high. Like that's kind of picture perfect. But you'll be targeting the valley area low. We got that continuation, break of structure from the valley area, and we fell back down. And most recently, let's delete that. We don't need that anymore. We had this double bottom, came up, and now we're building another head and shoulders. So it's looking a lot like DOT. We're using this little demand zone here as a form of support on render. Send this to back. Change the template to longs. So we really need to see this hold, or else we're going to come down, back down to these lows, which looks like it's roughly the measurable target for a head and shoulders. When you're looking for the measurable target for head and shoulders, you look for the head here. Let's go over here for a second. Here, we can use this tool. This thing's fun. Right? So there's our head and shoulders. You grab from the head to the neckline, which is the support of the head and shoulders, and you click and you drag to the point where you get that breakout, and it gives you the momentum-based targets, telling you that if the momentum were to continue, that we'd likely hit around here with the target. Now, it doesn't mean the target's going to be hit. You look at your barriers first, right? We have some key levels down here you got to watch out for. That looks like a order block. Yeah, so we have a level here we kind of got to watch out for. And then ultimately you'll be targeting the red line here. So we're on 335. So this is where render could go. So if you're looking for an area for potential accumulation and you want to make sure you get in a position of strength, you want to look for a bullish change of character reaction around here. There we go. Yeah, but right now it's looking structurally bearish, like it's preparing for that continuation drop. And we have a buy wall. Like you don't even have to look at the order books to know that there's a buy wall right here. When you see that horizontal level of support, like that, there's likely a large buy wall, like an order, someone trying to accumulate right now, that's preventing the price from going down. It doesn't like it, but once that buy wall is filled and you get that break of structure, you can use the local high as your stop loss guard and target down here. That is render right now. And we can delete this. There's quite a bit of noise on this chart, I'm sorry. We can actually pull a fixed range actually from the start of this more macro consolidation on the 4 hour from here to here. And right now we can see that the confluence, we have this giant volume shelf that we're kind of holding as support, and it's suggesting that price action is likely going to move quickly from the moment that we get that break down to the next volume shelf, which is right pretty much where our red line is. So we have a decent amount of confluence here for a bounce. We could deviate a little bit lower based on this volume data, but ultimately, yeah, you want to target here first. You just got to wait for that confirmation. So if I were to put a confirmation level for you, you want to see a full body candle close below here. What's Bitcoin doing? Good. Ethereum? All right. And the confluence that, Ethereum getting this SFP, potential SFP, at this uptrending level of resistance, and Bitcoin testing this previous low and potentially also getting an SFP. Render is coming into a supply concern here in the lower time frames, like right here. Right, this is the supply barrier. And it also could get an SFP. Unless we get that full body close above it, that could invalidate the whole idea of this drop. Not the more macro head and shoulders, but the short term. It takes quite a bit to invalidate a head and shoulders. There we go. You can mark here as your SFP level. I hope that helps you out. All right. Okay. Can you play aside Trump conference, which is going on? Trump conference. We could do that. Yeah, we could do that. How do I find that? A sec here, guys. Trump. Oh, yeah. Okay, there's that. I can't believe I forgot all about this. I've been watching the Trump and the Russia thing closely that was going on with Alaska. And I think a bunch of leaders kind of self-invited themselves to this one. So something bullish happens here. I don't think you guys can hear it.
To your wife again, Mr. President, for the letter about our abducted children, and I hope that really it can be historic role for the people to bring kids back to the families and be happy. It will help, and I was very thankful to your wife again, Mr. President, for the letter about our abducted children, and I hope that really it can be historic role for the people to bring kids back to the families.
It's on live Fox News and Bloomberg.
To the families. Back, yeah. Yes, this is so important, and I'm happy that we discussed it, this track with the President Trump, and I hope that we will find decisions. And then
Ben saying, "Don't use stop loss if whales see my stop losses." I used to feel that way when I first started trading, that like they're after just my liquidity alone and no one else's. And it turned me into a martingale trader for the first like 4 or 5 months of my trading career.
Ukraine will be happy if you both want me there. I will be there. Yeah, thank you. And I think this is very important. Yes, so security guarantees, bringing kids back.
There's this poll here asking if, do you think Trump will pressure Zelensky into a deal with Russia? I think that's a yes.
Which will work for the years we spoke about it, and I showed the president a lot of details on the battlefield, on the map. Thank you so much. Thank you for the map, by the way. Good map. It was great. Yeah. I'm thinking how to take it back. We'll get you. No. I think that we had constructive, specific meeting, and I'm very thankful to all the leaders who are here, and you help a lot, and so we are happy that
Waiting for some cash to land, and I want to add my bag for some cash illicit.
I think you'll see that President Putin really would like to do something else. I think when we set that up, when we do, I think it.
We can come back to this, guys. I just want to get through everyone's TA requests. Yeah, I think the market confidence is kind of low right now until this conference settles. Thank you, bro, for playing the conference live. However, the volume is low. Yeah, I've turned it down low because I can't hear how you guys hear it. But yeah, I'll go back to that. I just want to rush through some TA for some people. Just to everyone gets their favorite assets checked first. Okay. Are we looking for a short on Ethereum? Yeah, potentially. We're finding out we have 10 minutes left on this candle, and we might have a 15-minute SFP. The SFP will keep us inside this bear flag, and it could be a good front run to the break of the bear flag, while Bitcoin might also do the exact same thing, testing this previous low. And that would likely induce a change of character that could bring us back down to this demand zone. See what happens. But if there's going to be a reaction to this conference event, then we might break through these levels and invalidate our bearish setup. The good news about waiting for confirmations, though, is that if something bullish happens with the news, the charts are going to reflect that. Like, we're not going to get faked out or anything like that. There's this good saying, show me the charts and I'll tell you the news. Okay, so we want to look at Chainlink was one request. Let's pull that up really quick. Chainlink's still looking strong. We had this bearish drop here. This was the key level that we had drawn last time. And if broken, we had like a measurable target, which was pretty much hit like in the same candle that confirmed the move, which is kind of a pain in the butt. But you were given a second opportunity on the retest. And then we came down to this demand zone here. I don't have it drawn up, this demand zone, but we're pretty close to that valley area low. And we're kind of like now inside this previous valley area based on historical price action. So if I zoom out, you can see where it came from. A little further. There we go. So this is the previous valley area here that we're trying to get above this valley area, but we could very likely consolidate here. Chainlinks definitely has some relative strength over Ethereum and Bitcoin right now, because as they're kind of suffering, Chainlink is now reaching its like previous valley area highs, and Ethereum and Bitcoin are doing kind of the exact opposite. They're at their valley area lows right now. So definitely some strength being seen on Chainlink, and we're really close to hitting that measurable target for this double bottom posture, right? This massive double bottom that we have here, right? We got that measurable target from here to here. You just click and drag, brings us to here. But we have our last little barrier until we can get that hit. But like I said, not every target will get hit. But this is definitely the last spot where you'd want to prepare for a potential exit plan on any longs that you might be in, like more macro swing bound longs. We can delete this. We don't no longer need that anymore. We don't need this anymore. These are all previous trades. Let's go back to like the lower time frames. This is the hourly. Switch back to the 15. Yeah, it does look like it's trying to set for an SFP here, preferably here. If you're going to get an SFP, you can get that sweep from this high and then come down. Got a good liquidity curve here. Textbook range preparation. Whenever you see like a demand zone like this, right? And you get that move up to a valley area high, like a previous valley area high, and then you have that bearish change of character, you almost always see this act as a form of support, especially with previous point of control confluence. Yeah, now we're coming up. Could sweep this high and come down. What's Ethereum doing? Yeah, it's getting that sweep right now as we speak. 6 minutes left on the candle. And yeah, this is where I'll prepare for the next pullback on Chainlink. If we don't get it right here immediately on this wick, this is the better setup up here on this one here. Make sure you get your magnet tool out to make your life easier. There we go. So this is the kind of pathing that we can get. Hit our head off this order block, sweep this liquidity, come down, or come up, sweep this high, and come down. Bitcoin kind of failing to reach that high. Ethereum might be the trade. If you were a day trader and you're looking for a setup, and like Bitcoin was doing this and Ethereum was doing this, but you're looking for that short, you definitely want to pick Ethereum over Bitcoin right now because it has more of the conditions that you need met, right? So we got 5 minutes left on this candle. We'll see if it closes as an SFP. Will we make it down to 116,920? So this is our, if we come down, we break this low. This is our next area of concern. It'll be at 115.6. But we could come down as low as the point of control at basically around 115 even, or this 15-minute order block and the 50-day EMA. You could basically essentially just watch the VWAP or aim for the VWAP or aim for the 50-day EMA. The VWAP being your first little boss before hitting your target kind of thing. Okay, quantum reality is where the high probability we see lower price of its alts. Sorry, just trying to read this stuff here. Can we check Solana? Okay. All right. Well, Solana is a good SFP trading asset. Okay. Ironically, it's not giving us one. We got a potential, we got this fish hook structure. These are more advanced kind of trades, but sometimes you'll have internal structure that will help guide you into it. Whenever you see a drop like this, we tend to retrace. When you see these fish hooks kind of form, we retrace usually about 40% back from the drop from the last consolidative period. I got this in this structure inside the course, where basically you look for the equilibrium point right here, and you prepare for its break, and you prepare for a short right after the long, basically. This one's not a very good long opportunity. You're looking at this measurable kind of target from here to here, and we didn't hit it. We're really close, but right now we're dancing on the VWAP. We still haven't like invalidated it, but if we lose this VWAP and get acceptance back inside this previous value area from this previous value area data. Sorry, I got hiccups again. Yeah, losing the VWAP, we could fall back down to these lows, watching for the point of control alongside the 15-minute order block. If we lose this low, then we'll come down to this previous value low at 178.89. But I'm anticipating actually, I know it doesn't look this way, but I'm anticipating for it to bounce a little bit, grab this high, and then come down. Ethereum is 1 minute away from confirming the SFP. 1 minute and 42 seconds away. Is that Ethereum breaking out of the flag? It dipped out, yes. But the main thing you got to watch over the trend lines is the structure. Trend lines are a psychological guide. So we have the structure of us sweeping this high. If we get that close, and then we're statistically more likely to break this to the downside. When this closed, your stop loss will be right above the wick. And be targeting down here. The SFP target is just here, where the VWAP is. 40-some seconds now. I would fully understand if no one wanted to trade during this conference. If something bullish comes out of it, then we might see investors jump in. "14 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 2, 1. Okay. Yeah, S&P just confirmed. So now, when you're an SFP trader, you can jump in right on the confirmation. If the R&R is not great, you can wait for a potential pullback. But the invalidation point is the top of the wick itself. You can give it a little bit of breathing room if you like, without hurting your R&R. But this could be the front run to a break of this uptrending momentum for this bear flag posture. But yeah, S&P just confirmed, guys. Where is the target for this flag? There's two targets. I was talking about that today. Conservative target is the end of the liquidity at the bottom of this structure. Just visualize the order flow. Where's the stop loss guards, right? Where's the liquidity from high leverage traders? We just had $1 billion worth of liquidity liquidated from this drop. And we just added some new liquidity down here. So you try to get in like now or between here and the invalidation point, right? So between here and here, we'll be targeting here. The momentum-based target is way down here at 4,075. But your conservative target is here for the bear flag. The SFP target that just confirmed is like right here. Yeah. Let's take a peek at the White House situation. Someone's mentioning the volume.
Grandmother. Every single child has to go back to its family. This should be one of our main priorities also in these negotiations.
How's the
to
volume,
make sure
guys?
that the children come back to Ukraine to their families.
Thank you. And we did. I was just thinking we're here for a different reason, but we just a couple of weeks ago made the largest trade deal in history. So that's a big thing, and congratulations. That's great. Thank you very much, Ursula. Mr. Chancellor from Germany, a very great leader.
Mr. President,
Please.
dear Donald, many thanks for having us today. I think this is extremely helpful that we are meeting and hearing that the two of you
This
are,
chick is not having it.
having such a good meeting today here in Washington. The next steps ahead are the more complicated ones now. The path is open. You opened it last Friday. But now the way is open for complicated negotiations. And to be honest, we all would like to see a ceasefire, the latest from the next meeting on. I can't imagine that the next meeting would take place without a ceasefire. So let's work on that, and let's try to put pressure on Russia, because the credibility of these efforts we are undertaking today are depending on at least a ceasefire from the beginning of the serious negotiations from next step on. So I would like to emphasize this aspect and would like to see a ceasefire from the next meeting, which should be a trilateral meeting wherever it takes place.
Well, we're going to let the president go over and talk to the president, and we'll see how that works out, and if we can do that. I will say, and again, I say it, in the 6 wars that I've settled, I haven't had a ceasefire. We just got into negotiations, and one of the wars was, as you know, in the Congo was 31 years long. Another one that we settled last week with 2 great countries was 35 years going on, and we had no ceasefire. So if we can do the ceasefire, great. And if we don't do a ceasefire, because many other points were given to us, many points were given to us, great points. Please, Georgia, go ahead.
Or say,
Well,
Italy's
thank
prime
you very
minister,
much,
right?
Donald,
Yeah.
Mr. President, for hosting us today in this important meeting. And I think it is an important day, a new phase, after 3 years and a half that we didn't see any kind of sign from the Russian side that there was a willing for dialogue. So something is changing, something has changed, thanks to you. Thanks also to the stalling in the battlefield, which was achieved with the bravery of Ukrainians and with the unity that we all provided to Ukraine. And the reason why I mention it is that we also have to remind that if we want to reach peace and if we want to guarantee justice, we have to do it united. So that's why it's a very good day, the one we are in. You can obviously count on Italy as it was from the beginning. We are on the side of Ukraine, and we do absolutely support your efforts towards peace. We will talk about many important topics. The first one is security guarantees, how to be sure that it won't happen again, which is the precondition of every kind of peace. I'm happy that we will discuss about that. I'm happy that we will begin from a proposal, which is the, let's say, Article 5 model, which was Italian at the beginning. So we are always ready to bring our proposals for peace, for dialogue. It's something we have to build together to guarantee peace and to defend the security of our nation. So thank you, Mr. President, for hosting us.
Thank you very much. Emmanuel?
Thank you, Mr. President, for organizing this.
Looks like they're just closing it up. Yeah, there's
With you coming alongside, US alongside.
Generally speaking, very fair. I think it's important that they're fair because this is a very important subject. We have to get it ended, and so that's all we ask for is fairness with the media. Thank you all very much. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. A lot of good talks, and I think great honor to have you here. Special place. White House is special no matter where you're from. Represents so much, and it really is beautiful. And thank you for all of the wonderful things that took place today. We've had a very successful day thus far.
all right. She's so eager to help. Let's help others before we help ourselves. Yeah, I hate politics too, man. It's the one thing I didn't like about being a trader was the amount that you kind of have to follow the politics sometimes to just get yourself a little bit of a better edge. But yeah, kind of makes you, there's so much negativity in politics. It can really frustrate you. I just got a terrible tax bill today for $41,000. So I can tell you that I'm not a good friend with the government either. So I know what you mean. Jumped in the SP. Yes, the S&P confirmed on the Ethereum setup here. Bitcoin didn't do an SFP, but is starting to lose its previous low. We kind of got a little bit of a sleep at this low. Solana never got an SFP. Chainlink, is that equal highs? No, not equal highs. Just barely failing to take that low. I mean that high, sorry, that previous high here. whenever I see stuff like that, I feel like I'm trading on a glass floor. I don't usually like taking them. I'd rather look for something that did confirm that sweep and then take action on that one. You have no idea how big the taxes are in Italy. You're right. I actually have no idea. That's something I have to look into. I know Canada. I live in Canada, and the Canadian taxes here are just gross. But I can't claim to know that it's the worst or not. I think Canada is the top 3 in terms of worst taxes in the world. But can you draw a fib for ETH? Can I draw a Fibonacci retracement pole? Yes, I can. Let's see here. On the impulse move, or this local high, we can do it from the local high here. From here to here. And it's in line with this supply concern. The impulse move from here to here. We're hitting the 0.5 level. You want to pull from the highs to the lows when we're in a downtrend to give you that the Fibonacci levels that are a little bit more likely to have their targets hit. Let's see. Thank you, bro, for playing the okay, I'm just going to try to catch up here, guys. I do got to head out soon, but I do see that there's a little list here of assets you guys want me to look at. ENS, SEI, HUST, and the question for what an SFP is. That question was answered not too long ago, so you just look back a little bit. And I think I answered about 25 minutes ago or so. Okay, so ENS was the one request. I don't think we have an ENS chart, but we can take a peek. And we'll come back to Ethereum and see how it's doing when we're done. We'll search up ENS, USDT. So ENS is below its 50-day EMA. We mitigate this demand zone. We can delete that. That was a little while ago. The last time we looked at ENS, we were talking about this uptrending momentum and preparing for it to hit its head off this previous value area low and then come down from there. And where we ended up getting this ascending double bottom. So from here, you can pull from the low to the high and anticipate for it to potentially come down and hit the golden pocket. It looks like it front run the golden pocket. The last time we looked at it here. Yeah, just barely. Couple of cents. Pretty rude. It came down to 25.29 and the golden pocket started at 25.23. So we can delete this. We don't need that anymore. It's not going to help us going forward. Came back up, got acceptance to the value area, came down, used the value area as resistance. Now we're losing the 50-day. We had that golden cross, which is nice, but we're at a macro value area high. So here is the more macro picture, right? We saw what we prepared for in the lower time frames. Now we can see like the larger time frames. This is an area where historically you want to prepare for shorts. We've been inside this range for 577 days, well, a little more than that. I didn't properly pull it all the way, but yeah, but 590 days we've been consolidating here. And this is our more broad momentum. And we have some confluence here that might prevent us from going down to that value area low. So we have a draw box here. It looks like lower time frame. Okay, yeah, lower time frame, like 4-hour demand zone. We have a 4-hour order block here. We have a 4-hour order block there. We have the 200-day EMA right here. We have the previous point control, and we have the uptrending daily momentum. So if we do lose this 50-day EMA, it might only be a brief drawdown. Based on the active daily momentum, we could find out how long it might take us to get there. Let's pull a trend line from here to here. So this is the pace of the sellers based on the market structure. So if we maintain this pace, we could be down there in about 4 days, 12 hours or so, which would correlate really well with Ethereum. If we do break this bear flag to the downside, we could see ENS being dragged down along with it. And around here, I would definitely want to prepare for some longs for ENS, starting at like $23.52. Wait for that bullish change of character reaction, break of momentum, and then you can start targeting the 50-day EMA as your primary barrier. Depending on what kind of structure we have here, we might have a supply concern. And then after that, target the previous valley low and hopes for acceptance within that valley area. Yeah, this one here. If we do get that acceptance with a break of structure, then you might get that continuation up to this high. So one little step at a time. So there's like TP1, TP2, and TP3. That's ENS. So if I were to draw pathing for you, it would look a little bit like something like this. Retest that low, hit the momentum, come down, and then a bullish change of character reaction around here. Maybe tapping that momentum along the way somewhere around this journey. And then, yeah. So that's why I'll be preparing for accumulation. If I were an investor and I didn't hold any of this assets, this is where I would prepare for buying ENS, is around here. But right now, we're kind of in this make it or break it moment, trying to use the 50-day EMA as resistance with this double bottom posture. We're trying to get above this neckline, this lower time frame double bottom here. We're currently kind of failing. If we break that neckline, then we could see a brief move to the supply concern, like right here. Like that. Send this to back. All right. Oh, my bad. There we go. Get our momentum-based pull. And it suggests the same target. There we go. But we need to have that like full body close above this wick here. There we go. Yeah, full body close above here. Then we're likely going to head our way back to 2638, where we're likely going to continue our downtrend after that, assuming that even happens, right? If we get that break of structure first, then we're just going to do the suggestive pathing that we have drawn here. So I'll just connect this to here. Something like that. And our other path would be where is my pathing tool? There it is. I'll just click on that. Like that. There we go, guys. Hope that helps you with ENS. SCI. Let's go back to Bitcoin, go to the watch list. Okay. I think I have an SCI. I do not. Surprised I don't. I got requests to look at SCI so many times by now. It's been a while since we looked at SCI. Was this move here, I guess. Yeah, we delete a lot of this noise. We don't need it anymore. Pull this from here to here. There we go. Just old TA. Okay, so we got a wick above this high. We never got the body close. We had this inverse head and shoulders kind of posture, and it fractalized here. Kind of like an inverse head and shoulders kind of behavior. Did well through here. Hit the top of that supply, but we got that break. We never got that break of this high here to help us follow through to the supply concern. Right now we are potentially getting an internal change of character on the 15 minute. If we break this low with the body close, we'll be falling right down to 32.19 with a little bit of an order block here, but doesn't look not a really good relevant location. So we might just break right through it. Maybe a bounce to retest and then come down. So if I were to anticipate, suggest a pathing, it'd be something like this. Like that. Once we get that body kind of close below that level. How's Ethereum doing? Ethereum's getting people's emotions going for sure. Got to bounce off the POCB. But we haven't hit the invalidation point yet. Ethereum is kind of known for giving you those multiple taps too sometimes, so just be aware of that if you are an SFP trader. That, especially at extreme highs or extreme lows, Ethereum tends to give you like 3 to 4 taps instead of just the regular 2. We got about 3, but not 3 sweeps, just the 1 sweep. Okay, SEI. Yeah, it's coming down now. Just prepare for a little bit of a bounce around here, if we even get it. Not a super strong order block. We'll come down to this demand zone down here. And if we lose this neckline level here, the next spot I'll be watching is this previous value area high at $30. Oh, sorry, not $30. $30.38. It's alongside the 50-day EMA, where we can get that bounce, right? So there's some confluence there for potential support. So just prepare for a potential opposing change of character here. So if we do get that continuation on SEI, then you can hold it to here. If you even took that trade, I didn't take it, so. Ethereum's still holding. Solana, how you doing, man? Okay, bouncing off the VWAP a little bit. Yeah, everything's just looking short-term weak. Everything's just looks like it's trying to find support off some key levels, but short-term does look like everything's trying to pull back. Very cool seeing you trade live. Thanks, man. Thanks for ENS, no problem. HUST. I don't know if I've ever done TA on that. So let's see, what even is that? Is it HNT? Yeah, not finding anything. I'll look at HNT. Maybe you meant this misspell or something. Okay, so we got the 4-hour descending falling wedge. No, HUSDT. Oh, I see. Okay. HUSDT. We'll look at it on Bybit. Humanity is what it's called. Okay. Yeah, I haven't done T on this before. Okay, it's young. It's definitely young. It just populated its 50-day EMA for the first time. I'm on the Bybit chart. we have this downtrending momentum here that's been holding it down since its full body high at 10 cents. We can pull a line like this. We had this demand zone here that was holding it up for a while until we lost it. And now we're not in price discovery, but we're in an area where there's no volume, right? There's been no interest until the last time when we had a key interest was around here. So I'm going to be honest with you, we could free fall. So based on historical data, we don't have very much evidence of support. We might have to go into lower time frames. We might find something small between these 4-hour candles, but yeah, we could free fall down to 0.02, basically 2 cents, right? Okay, the buyer's momentum here. Just gonna wait for this chart to load. The good thing about this structure is that it's actively bearish, but they typically break to the upside because statistically, these structures, they're constantly sweeping liquidity from below and adding more and more liquidity above us. So if you're a market maker, where would you want to go for an exit plan, right? You'd be looking for these highs and trying to induce a move to bring price action to those highs for your exit plan. That's assuming this asset even has a market maker. It is listed on Bybit, so they probably likely paid to at least have their algorithmic market maker in play. Because most exchanges will give you that offering. They'll offer you, like, he will give you an algorithmic market maker. Costs about $5,000 to $10,000. We're on the hourly. About to get that full body close. Below support. How's Ethereum doing? Yeah, playing with people's heartstrings a little bit more. What I'll be looking for is potential sweep of these lows. I'm not sure if this is a great asset to trade. Structurally, it doesn't actually look that bad. There is a couple whipsaw events that would make me a little nervous to trade this thing. It could be a good asset to hold and buy, but short-term trading-wise, it might not be great. So you gotta be really cautious with your stop-loss placement with some of these lower market cap assets. So if you get this S&P level drawn, yeah, we could sweep this liquidity and then come up and then finally break this downtrending momentum. But it only leads you to a move like this. Where are we? Pathing tool. Yeah, break of this momentum would suggest a move like this. Grabbing the liquidity from here. And the confluence would likely meet the macro momentum here if we do finally break this downtrending resistance. So we're getting to a squeeze event coming up very soon where the more macro buyers momentum is coming to meet the internal sellers right here. And there's this apex point that we're getting close to. I'm not saying that we'll squeeze to there, right? But if we do get that break, this is the measurable target. But for now, let's prepare for that potential sweep. Maybe we'll get an SFP on HUSDT. If we break this downtrending momentum and we see a close below it, I would prepare for the brick structure that could define the move all the way down to here. That's the main thing I'm worried about with this asset because there's just no area of interest until here. So I'm hoping that these buyers will hold for you. All right, the ETH SFP confirmation level is back at the profit zone. Congrats if you're patient and you took an entry within this green candle. Hi Kyle, I was hoping you could demonstrate how you draw a range. Yeah. There's a market structure range. So yet I typically look for price action come up, demand zone, change of character reaction, and it'll come down. Let's say we get another change of character. I'll look for the wick high and the wick low. And that's my range. So I can predict the range will occur ahead of time based on market structure, like a demand zone like this. And once we get that change of character reaction, that's where I would prepare for support. I anticipate support here. You don't assume support. You wait for the opposing change of character on top of or within that area, right? But yeah, you anticipate support off these demand zones. Same thing when we're coming in from a downtrend. Move down, base, impulse move, change of character reaction, prepare for potential resistance in the supply concern, and then I'll look for the highest wick point and the lowest wick point, and that's my range. Right? You can sometimes see deviations of the range, like this. And once you get that acceptance within it, with another change of character reaction, then you have what's called an extension of your range. So we between this point and this point from that point on. And then, what I look for is, I like to use value areas to help me define key levels of resistance. So once I get that second change of character reaction, I'll pull a fixed range volume profile. Sometimes, this is where a lot of people struggle. If we have, let's say we retest this area, and it's like this, instead of like this, where we mitigate it, I'll pull a fixed range from the start here to the point of where we got our last change of character. So this would all be a fixed range volume profile pull. But if we just, if we mitigate the full thing like we did in this example, I'll pull the fixed range from the start of the supply concern to the active price action after the second change of character. I hope that helps you out. All that stuff's included inside the course for you guys. Where was our last little example with Ethereum? So yeah, I got asked this question the other day. So I was anticipating us to range. After we got this support bounce here and we got this change of character reaction, I perceived this as the range low, and this here is marked because it's marked as the range high, right? But until we get like that acceptance, like full body acceptance back within, we could keep having these continuations down, kind of like what we're having going on right now. Like if we find support here, this is kind of like a macro. This could be a macro range where this is the demand zone here. This is the range high. And I'll be marking this as my range low for now, between here and here. If we get that like initial break, we could bounce between this as a potential range. But being full aware that we still have demand here to mitigate, and we can get that range extension. Should probably let people know that they took this. Didn't get a chance to. It's not exactly a great signal when it's this late, but I'll put it in the trade talk section. All right, ETH has a P into bear flag. So far, so good on the ETH setup. We haven't really moved very far from our entry, but funny how you were trying to leave when your setup is failing. What? Kyle, for the bags you hold, what do you do when 20 to 30% correction comes? You just hold, or you have to stop loss and rebuy later on? The bags, I only have 2 assets that I'm holding at a loss right now. It is, here, I just pull it up. Atom is one of them, ATOM, and I'm just gonna pull it up here. Atom and Ondo. Oh, I need to update this actually. My Ondo average is down a little bit more. I'm down about 4% on my Ondo bags. I'm down 33% on my Cosmos. So if I'm ever in a situation where I'm holding at a loss, my goal is to try to accumulate the asset for free. So what I mean by that is I will use the asset in a inverse perpetual trade or coin margin trade, and I will try to find as many setups as I can using that asset as collateral. So when I enter a trade, I'll earn more of that asset in the inverse perpetual setup. If that sounded like gibberish to you, then I recommend looking up coin margin. Basically, it's the reason why my net worth is where it's at right now. It's because I use Bitcoin as collateral for my inverse perpetual setups for macro trades. Now you can do it in a spot environment too, where you can find a range and you can sell at the top of a range. Say all your rules are met, like for example, the rules I use: break up momentum, change a character, add a value area high. You sell there, rebuy at the value area low, and that allows you to accumulate that asset essentially for free. So let's say, for example, you sold $1,000 worth of your asset and then there's a 5% drop and you did a rebuy for the exact same amount. So yeah, just do a rebuy. You'll be able to accumulate 5% more tokens. So like about $5 worth or $50 worth, sorry. $50 worth of that asset as if you got it for free. And then you add that to your portfolio tracker as if you got it for free, and it reduces your average. And you keep reducing your average more and more and more, doing it that way. And that's what I did with Matic. I was in a really bad situation with my Matic bags, and I tried to take the shorts, but I was doing it all inverse perpetually. I wasn't doing it in a spot environment, and I brought my average down to like 32 cents. So when we broke the uptrending legacy support, I got completely out, luckily at a profit. But it took more work than just regular investing. So it's good to try to jump in when you're jumping in a spot bag that you're buying in a position of strength at like a macro low. So you don't have to worry about, if you're buying assets right now at today's prices, you might be put into a situation where you might have to be pretty active with your bags to try to reduce your average. See, walk away from the live for about an hour and a half. Yeah. So you're in an ETH short right now. Yeah, we did an ETH SFP setup. Yep. I don't know how long we've been in this live for. 2 hours now. We're kind of having some fun watching the White House conference there and looked at a whole bunch of assets. Ethereum, this SFP is a potential front run break to this bear flag. But yeah, I gotta head out soon. Can you take us through the cliff notes on how you set up an inverse perpetual trade? Yeah, the first thing you have to do is buy the asset via spot. So once you buy it via spot, you need to find an exchange that provides coin margin. Depending on where you are, like BitGet's a great one. Blowfin is an incredible one. All right, Blowfin. Bybit. It all depends on which exchange you use. And then you look for the term. It used to be called inverse perpetual, but now it's called coin margin. This cycle, they kind of rebranded it to make it easier for people to understand. But you'll see something like coin M. You have to move your spot bag into a futures account so you can trade it with a coin margin setup, and then you're good. The downside with coin margin, just know that it is higher risk. So if you're someone for some reason that doesn't trade with a stop loss, just know that your liquidation level will be remarkably closer, because if you're jumping in an inverse perpetual trade and you're using the asset as collateral, it's not like stablecoin where it stays still, right? So they move your liquidation point closer because the percentage value of your asset could go down even though you're shorting it, and vice versa. Any potential spots to add to Karma bags? Let's go there and see. Like 5 cents is the best spot, but you're going to have to ask it to drop 28% for you to get there. That's historically the best spot in this last range. The next closest spot, yeah, the point of control, I'd say around 0.6488. It all depends on what you're planning on doing. If you're buying and holding for the reflection rewards, you're going to be able to accumulate without even trading it. It's just by buying, holding, and think of it like it's automatically staking. It's not technically staking. You're just earning based on your percentage ownership of the supply. So a lot of people, what they do is they pick a rounded number. Let's say you have like 10,000 karma. At the end of the month, they'll see what their balance is at, and then they'll sell it. Say it's at like 10,200. They would sell the 200 and then bring it back down to here. But the more you hold, the more you earn. So by selling it, you are essentially giving up your absorption power of the reflection wards. So there's pros and cons. I normally would recommend, if my unbiased opinion, I would say keep selling the reflection wards until you get your seed investment back. And then it's house money from there. You're just passive income. Yeah, anywhere in the range between, Wagner's good point. Between 5 cents and 10 cents is a good buy for return to the all-time high. And the all-time high is being at 26 cents. Yeah, pretty good. How's Ethereum doing? Let's dissect this thing. Let's go to the 3-minute. Yeah, 3-minute, double top, failure to create a higher high. We even got the 3-minute SFP. You could have front run the 15-minute SFP with the 3-minute sweep here. A little high risk though. No, we need a break here to get that 3-minute change of character though. Once that breaks, we should have the confluence of breaking this upturning momentum on ETH. Thanks, Melissa. Smash the like. Everyone had a good rest of the day. Continues to crush the week. Yeah. All right, guys. We're going to leave it at this. We can review the trade tomorrow. I'd love to stay on this trade with you guys throughout the whole thing, whether it wins or loses. I will continue giving updates inside the Discord if anything were to go against us in the setup. I would, based on the current pace of this drop, if we manage to hit our target, it could take us a little while to get there. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, this is what I recommend doing for anyone who's kind of new and they don't really know how to babysit their trades. You don't want to be staring at the screen in an unhealthy way, right? So I'd recommend just setting alerts at key levels that could induce it to start to go against you, right? So the VWAP, you can set an alarm on your VWAP. When price action taps this location, you can use a horizontal line like this around there if that's easier for you to set it up. So just get a horizontal line, click on this little alarm clock here to tell you this is a good spot to pay attention, right? I like to pick stuff that's obnoxious, gets me to my screen kind of thing. Only set to only once or once per bar close. Once per bar close, in my opinion, is the best trigger for knowing when to potentially jump into a trade if you're waiting for a candle to close above something. But setting up only once or once per minute is a good one to notify you that you should be looking at your trade. So set up only once for like maybe this level around $4,320, roughly around the VWAP. Set up another one for down here at 4,260. And then set up a last alert around here where the target's going to be met. The reason why you want to have one for around when the target's hit just is to notify you just in case you want to stay in your trade. Because this is a bear flag that does have a strong momentum-based target. So if it breaks and we don't just get this liquidity sweep and bounce, if we manage to get that break of structure beneath it, we could stay in the trade potentially all the way down to $4,000. So, but this is our primary target for the setup. If you do not want to stay in beyond this, then just get out, because we could be in this trade until around like 9 p.m. tonight, Eastern. So that's about 5 hours or so. But yeah, reach out to me in the Discord if you're someone who's not part of the community and might be struggling with this setup, and I'll do my best to guide you through it. Watch out for impersonators, because there's a lot of scammers that will pretend to be me to try to trick you into sending them money. I will never ask you for money, so don't even worry about that kind of crap. All right, guys, have a great day. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for sharing. If you have anyone who you know might be struggling with their trading journey, send them this way. Right? Our goal right now is to try to get to 7,000 subscribers, and we're only 200 away. So we're pretty darn close. All right, guys, you have a great